Hello and welcome to the 300 Heroes Champion Spotlight. Today we'll be reviewing Saber and her moveset and how to play her and the best way to position her and build her. We will cover all of that in this video. For now, I'm gonna have to ask that you mind the text that appears on the screen, as this is the tutorial mode, and this is where I'll be reviewing most of the characters and champions in 300 Heroes until I can find a better way to review each character. So until then, this is what we're gonna have to deal with. So I'm sorry about that. Now, let's get started. Saber is a very versatile hero who can go pretty much any way you would like to build her. She has AD, AP damage, or she can build a tank. It all depends on how you want to play Saber, depending on the enemy's team comp and your own team comp. We're gonna start off with Saber's passive. Saber's passive, when you reach 25% health, you will gain 40% of your life back over time. Your Q is a target skill shot that will lunge you in the direction you choose, dealing physical damage to all enemies you pass. The second activation of your Q will do a knockup, dealing an additional physical damage. Do note that your Q can go over terrain, as I will show you in a second. Your Q is a good move for using for escape or gap closing on the enemy. Your W, however, I will not be able to show you here as there are no enemy champions. Even though there is an AI, the AI is actually counted as a minion. So use that as future reference for any abilities that will work this way as Saber's W will work. With that said, Saber's W, if the character's health is lower than yours, that character will be slowed by 30%. However, if the character's health is higher than yours by percentage, you will be able to taunt them for a total of 1.5 seconds. This is good for team fighting and or escaping. Your E is a cone-shaped skill shot that does AP and AD damage in an AoE. It's good for wave clear and good for crowd control fighting. It does a decent amount of damage and has high scaling in the AD. I suggest maxing your E first. Your ultimate, which is probably what you guys are most excited for, is of course Excalibur. It is a long range skill shot ability that will deal AP and AD damage over time for 3 seconds. Do note that it has a channel time before it actually happens, so this move can be dodged. All units hit by it will be slowed down by 50% and take damage over time per hit. Use Saber's ultimate in team fights early on or to secure kills on an enemy getting away. The ultimate can be used to keep enemies off of a tower, or it can be used for good damage output in an early team fight. I suggest you always put a point in your ultimate. Because Saber is so versatile, there are many ways you can build Saber. While AP is a prominent build, it will fall off late game, and AP is more lenient towards your ultimate. As you can see, AP scales very terribly in all of your moves except for your ultimate. And even still, the scaling of your AP is pretty poor in your R. So with that said, only play AP Saber if your team comp can compensate for that. AD Saber, however, is a very prominent build, as long as you have some survivability items. Hybrid Saber, however, can also be a very good build, but I do not recommend it. The items I recommend you build on full AD Saber will be Merc Treads, This will give you tenacity in team fights, as in case you get CC'd, you'll be able to escape it in a faster way, while getting some more magic resist. I do not recommend that you rush that. I recommend that you build a frozen sword first as your first item, and then pick up Merc Treads. After those two items are built, I suggest that you pick up the Zangetsu Blade, as it'll give you armor penetration, attack speed, and extra damage for shredding. Speaking of that, before I forget, do note that your W passively gives you an attack speed of 20%. After you finish your Zangetsu Blade, I do recommend that you build the Blood Soul Stiller Sword for the lifesteal and extra damage. Do note that this item can gain stacks per unit killed and per champion killed, but do also note that you will lose 1/3 of your stacks upon death. For survivability, I suggest you pick up the Protective Health Armor. And for your last item, I suggest you build the Trinity Blades, as it will give you more damage and output for all of your moves and extra attack speed. When playing Saber in a team fight, I suggest you jump in with your Q first and use your W on the nearest champion that is a high priority target. You'll want to single out high priority targets first. After that, you want to use your E for extra damage output. I've already explained how you should use your ultimate. Do note that Saber can also be a jungle champion. When jungling with Saber, I suggest you start at blue buff, move on to the salamanders, and head straight to the wraiths and then red buff. After that, if there's a lane to gank, you should probably gank the nearest lane. Do note that buffs respawn very quickly in this, so by the time you reach red buff, your blue buff should be expired, but blue buff should also be respawned. If there's no lanes to gank, I suggest you re-clear your jungle again for a second time. With that said, as versatile Saber is, I hope you enjoyed this guide. There's not much else to really cover with Saber. These are all of her moves and what they could possibly do. So with that said, that concludes the 300 Hero Champion Spotlight for Saber. Hope you enjoy and have fun defeating the enemies of your Excalibur sword on the battlefield. Good luck and have fun.